Dear students, welcome back to this e-Shikshana program on the course Data Mining and Data Warehousing. In today's video session, we'll be discussing about Bayesian classifiers, which is part of your module 4, that is classification. If you recall the very first session that we have discussed with respect to your module 4, that is classification, I said we'll be discussing about different types of classifiers such as rule-based, your decision tree, the memory-based, the Naive-Bayes classifier. Apart from that, I had mentioned about artificial neural network and support vector machine. The last two are not part of your syllabus. So far we have covered decision tree, the rule-based classifier, and with respect to your memory-based classifiers, we have discussed about the instance, the KNN algorithm in the previous video session. So the left out part is the Naive-Bayes classifier, which comes under the Bayesian classifier. So just to recall, a classifier is a model, a classification model, which will categorize the predefined input set to a target function, that is your classifier. And a Bayesian classifier is nothing but a classifier that works on the concept of probability, and I hope you know the basic definition of probability. Fine. So there is an event of tossing a coin 10 times, and 7 times the head appears, 3 times the tail appears. If I ask what is the probability that head will occur, is 7 by 10, 0.7. So similarly, for the probability that tail will occur is 3 by 10. That means the number of occurrences over the given total number of events that occur is called as the probability, or you might have heard about the term conditional probability. Based on a given attribute condition, the probability will be calculated. So in a simple sense, your probability is nothing but the frequency of appearance of a given event when I consider the n number of events. So your Bayesian classifier will work on the probability, and it makes use of the Bayesian theorem to design a Bayes classifier. So we'll be discussing about the Naive-Bayes classifier in your further slides. So this is the small introduction to your Bayesian classifier. So we'll now see what exactly are Bayesian classifiers in this video session today. Now, why should we go for Bayesian classifiers at the end of the session when we discuss about Bayesian classifiers? What exactly you will learn? First thing is, you'll learn how to calculate explicit probability for a given hypothesis. So hypothesis is nothing but an assumption that is true. So please remember, you'll learn how to calculate explicit probabilities. I've just said what is probability. And for an hypothesis, so for an assumption that you assume that is true, what will be the probability? You'll be able to calculate the probability. So you'll be learning some practical approaches to certain learning problems. What are these learning problems? It is nothing but learning the classification models by using this probability. So I'm talking about a practical approach because we'll be solving n number of problems wherein you'll be solving the given classifier based on some prior probabilities. We call something as posterior probabilities, that I call it as the practical approach, or you can call your practical approaches as your systematic evaluation process, or you can even call it as the empirical methods of solving a given problem. So practical approach is mathematical, an empirical approach for learning the problems. So it will also provide a useful perspective, that means end user perspective for understanding the given learning algorithm. So this is what we'll be discussing in your Bayesian classifier. So what exactly are Bayesian classifiers? In Bayesian learning, so please remember, learning is nothing but the training process. I said with respect to your data set, we have discussed about training data set, testing data set, as well as validation data set. Your Bayesian learning is nothing but learning about the data set which is used to construct a given classification model. Hence I call it as learning. Learning through Bayes theorem or the Bayesian network is called as Bayesian learning. It is nothing but the best hypothesis will be selected. So how do I define best hypothesis? I'll define best hypothesis as the most probable hypothesis. So say for example, in a class of 100 students, if I am supposed to pick who will be the topper, how can I select? There will be some probability. I would have seen his performance in the internals, in the extracurricular activities that I conduct. So that student which I am saying is a likely candidate to become a topper is what I am supposed to select, and that candidate, or in this case the hypothesis, I call it as most probable hypothesis, or technically speaking, any hypothesis that will have higher probability value, I call it as most probable hypothesis. So your Bayesian classifier will select the best hypothesis, and the best hypothesis is defined as the most probable hypothesis. And mathematically, most probable hypothesis is an hypothesis having higher probability value or the likelihood of becoming your target function. Apart from that, given the data set D, your training data set, plus any initial knowledge about the prior probabilities of the various hypotheses in H. So what is this initial knowledge about the prior probabilities? As I said, the student IA marks, performance in the extracurricular activities will be the initial knowledge. Given a data set of the entire students and some prior probability of the initial knowledge will constitute your Bayesian learning, which will help in finding me the most probable hypothesis. Now, this Bayesian classifier, as I said, will work on Bayes theorem, and this Bayes theorem will provide a process or a method to calculate the probability for a given data set. I said, right, most probable hypothesis as well as the prior probability. So this Bayes theorem will give me the prior probability values. That is what is written here. Provides a way for calculating the probability of a hypothesis based on its prior probability. Along with it, the probabilities of observing various data given in the hypothesis and the observed data itself. So observed data is your training data set. Prior probability, as I said, the likelihood, the student who is likely to become a topper, that probability is defined in your Bayes theorem. Now there are two reasons why to learn Bayesian learning. So the relevant reasons to go for Bayesian learning when we have your rule-based classifiers or decision tree classifiers is, the first reason, it will allow us to explicitly manipulate the probabilities among the most practical approaches to certain types of learning problems. So I repeat, it gives us the option of explicit manipulation. That means from a given data set, I'll be able to modify or change the prior probability values based on for most of the practical approaches while learning the given data set. Example, Bayes classifier is competitive with decision tree and neural network learning. So neural network is not part of your syllabus. We have not covered it. I think we have covered decision tree, how to calculate accuracy we have seen. So the first reason, explicit manipulation, is I'll be able to achieve better accuracy using Navy Bayes classifier or your Bayesian classifiers when compared to your decision trees or rule-based classifiers. That is the first reason that I go for Bayesian learning. The second reason is it provides an useful perspective for understanding learning methods that do not explicitly manipulate probabilities. In the first case, I said it will give us an option, or we'll have the choice of explicitly manipulating the probabilities. Even in cases when there is no possibility of explicitly manipulating the probabilities, to get a better perspective or the better understanding of the given learning algorithm, then also Bayesian learning is suitable. That is why we go for it. So examples is justifying the errors of the functions in ANN, or how to minimize the error in your rule-based classifier, or how to go for inductive bias in decision trees. Inductive bias I have already discussed while designing your classification model. Just introduce some random samples from the existing training data set and see whether the model is working correctly or not. That becomes your inductive bias. All this when there is no possibility of manipulating the probabilities, then I go for Bayesian learning. So please remember the two reasons that I go for using the Bayesian learning is, one is it will allow me to explicitly manipulate the probabilities, and in some cases when in the learning algorithms do not provide me the option of manipulating the probabilities, in that case also, for example the ANN or the inductive bias in decision trees, I can go for using Bayesian learning. Fine. So these are the two reasons. Next, why exactly is Bayesian classification necessary? What are the components of a Bayesian classifier? We'll see in this slide. So it's a statistical classifier. What is statistical? Any mathematical measure used to evaluate a classification model, I call it as a statistical classifier. So this performs probabilistic prediction, that is predicts class membership probabilities. So any classifier, as a basic definition of the classifier itself indicates, its objective is to categorize the set of input set data or the attribute set to a predefined target function or the class label. So I'll find the class label based on the membership probabilities, the attribute probabilities, that I call it as probabilistic prediction. So it is a statistical classifier which makes use of a measure such as the probability of a given member or the attribute, hence it's a statistical classifier. And this basically works on Bayes theorem. What is the Bayes theorem, what is the mathematical function, how to make use of Bayes theorem for solving problems, we'll discuss later. But as of now, your foundation for Bayesian classification is your Bayes theorem. And with respect to the performance, the Bayesian classifier, it is proven for the n number of examples or the training data set or n number of applications, that the performance of Bayesian classifiers, or one of the example for your Bayesian classifier, the Navy Bayes classifier, is better than decision tree as well as your neural network and rule based classifier. That means if I apply this Bayesian classification, which works on the principle of Bayes theorem, to a given training data set, I'll be able to achieve highest accuracy or more accuracy in general, more accuracy when compared to decision trees, artificial neural network or your rule based classifiers. That is performance. And what is the incremental nature of your Bayesian classifier? Every attribute or the member in the training data set can incrementally increase or decrease. What is incremental? We have discussed with respect to your data warehouse approach, the incremental as well as evolutionary. Increment in the sense, stage by stage I can increase or decrease the probability of a hypothesis. That is what I call it as incremental. And your Bayesian classifier is a standard. Even when Bayesian methods are computationally intractable, that means if the given training data set or the problem domain is inflexible, then also they provide a standard optimal decision making system. What is optimal? Say for example, you prepare for the examination, you think of going and attempting for 80 marks, but the moment you see the question paper, see, you will come to an opinion that yes, this paper is a bit difficult, I'll not be able to attempt all 80 marks, I'll be just attempting 70 marks, I'll try to score 65 out of those 70. That is what I call it as optimal. It will help me in refining my target or my decision making. That is what I call it as optimal. If you can't achieve 80, attempt for 70 and at least try to get near to 70. That is what I call it as optimal. So this is the standard. When the computational methods are inflexible, my Bayesian classification gives me a standard for achieving optimal results. That is why we make use of Bayesian classification. Next, now here comes the major crux of your Bayesian learning, that is the foundation. As we discussed in the previous slide, the foundation for your Bayesian classification is the Bayes theorem, and I would just like to remind you, in this slide as well as the upcoming slides, we'll have n number of formulas. So your objective is only to remember the formulas, or say for example memorize it, but need not worry about the derivation. Derivation is not included in your syllabus, so I am not including those details in the video lectures here. So Bayes theorem, in any data mining or machine learning problems, I am using the acronym here. DM stands for data mining, ML stands for machine learning. In any data mining or machine learning problems, we are always interested in the probability denoted as PH over D. I use this bar as H over D, that H holds given the observed training data D. So what is probability? It is the occurrences of a given event when I consider the total number of events for a given problem domain. So H is the hypothesis, and I have defined hypothesis as an assumption that is true, and your D is your training data set, the initial data set given to you. And what exactly is a data set D consist of? It will consist of n number of instances, examples or records, and each and every instance will have n number of attributes, and those attributes will have some attribute value pairs. That is your training data set. So in my objective with respect to Bayes theorem, my interest or emphasis is on finding the probability of the given hypothesis if I know the probability of the given data set. So please remember, I define PH over D as finding the probability of a hypothesis if I know the probability of the data set, or in general if I write PA over B or PX over Y, I define PA over B as finding the probability of A when the probability of B is already known. Or I repeat, if I am supposed to find the probability of X over Y, I am trying to find the probability of X if the probability of y is already known to me. That is of interest for me in Bayes theorem. So what does Bayes theorem provide? It provides a way to calculate the posterior probability PH over D. So I define this PH over D as posterior probability by using the prior probability PH, that means probability of the hypothesis, together with probability of the data set and probability of the data set provided I know the probability of the hypothesis. And mathematically Bayes theorem is defined as PH over D. PH over D is your posterior probability, and P D over H, I know the probability of D given the probability of the hypothesis, is known as likelihood, into P into H is defined as probability of the hypothesis, which I call it as prior probability, divided by probability of the given data set. So please make a note of this formula, which is the mathematical notation for your Bayes theorem. Now in this slide I have written the general definition for your Bayes theorem. The Bayes theorem definition in the previous slide I have just carried over here. So PH over D is your posterior probability, which is equal to the product of P D over H, which is called as likelihood. I already gave an example. Among a given set of 100 students, which student is probably having the chance of becoming a topper? That student I call it as likelihood into prior probability. What is prior probability? Previous semester performances. And evidence. What is evidence? In the given semester, what is his performance in internals? What is his performance in extracurricular activities? What is his attendance status? That is the evidence. So as I've already told, my objective in Bayesian classifier is finding the best hypothesis, and best hypothesis is nothing but the most probable hypothesis. And I've said most probable hypothesis is nothing but the hypothesis having highest probability value. So for any given problem under Bayesian classifier or classification models, I am supposed to find posterior probability by using likelihood, prior probability and evidence. I am supposed to find posterior probability for what? For all the attribute value pairs in the target function. Say for example, if I am talking about student data, the target function will be pass or fail. So for pass as well as fail, or student will attend the class or not, yes or no, for all those yes or no, 1 or 0, pass or fail, I am supposed to find posterior probability. Any class label having highest probability value will become the best hypothesis. We'll solve the problems, then probably we'll get a better understanding of it. So the notations for the Bayes theorem: P of H stands for prior probability of the hypothesis H. I repeat, hypothesis is nothing but the assumption which is true. So P of H, P stands for probability. P of H indicates prior probability of hypothesis H. Similarly, P of D, D stands for data set or your training data. The probability of the training data, that is what I have written here. Prior probability of the data set to be observed. P D over H, this one, P D over H, it is the probability of data set given I know the probability of H, known as prior probability of D given H. P H over D is the posterior probability of H. So my objective using Bayes theorem is to find the posterior probability by using likelihood, prior knowledge and evidence. So the same thing. So if you see this mathematical equation, obviously I can say the posterior probability will increase when P D over H and probability of hypothesis increase, obviously, because they are directly proportional. And P H over D, the posterior probability increases if the probability of data set decreases. If it increases, it will decrease. That is what I have written here. P H over D increases with P of H and P of D over H according to Bayes theorem, obviously directly proportional. P of H over D decreases as P of D increases, because the more probable it is that D will be observed independent of H. So if the data set attribute value pairs decreases, right, it becomes indicate. So it becomes independent of the given hypothesis of your assumption. So the moment P of D increases, P H over D, the posterior probability decreases. If P over D, the probability of data set decreases, P H over D, the posterior probability increases. This is your Bayes theorem. So I repeat, while going through this video session, please go through these two slides very carefully, make a note of this the mathematical notation for Bayes theorem and the notations for it, recall, and then go for solving the problems. So I have given the description here for each and every acronym and the notation used in Bayes theorem. P of H is the prior probability of the hypothesis H. So it is used to denote the initial probability that the hypothesis H holds before observing the training data. So H is the initial probability of the hypothesis without observing the given probability of the training data set. It is P of H. P of D is the prior probability of the training data. So this P of H may reflect any background knowledge we have about the chance that H is correct. So I've already told an example, the initial knowledge, fine. So if you don't have any prior knowledge, then each candidate hypothesis might simply get the same probability. So as I said, if I don't know which student will become the topper, then what is the probability of each student becoming a topper? It is equal, the same way. So this is P of D, the probability of the given training data set. Here I have P H over D, here I have P of H. So that is what I am saying, P H over D. This is only the probability of the hypothesis. This is the probability of the hypothesis if I have observed the training data set D. That is what I have written. Before observing the training data, then it is the probability of the hypothesis. If it is written as P H over D, it is called as the posterior probability after seeing the training data. That is what I have written. P of H over D is the posterior probability, my objective in Bayes theorem, because it reflects the confidence that H holds after we have seen the training data. So the posterior probability reflects the influence or the importance of the training data in contrast to the prior probability, which is independent of D. This formula, fine. P of D is independent, wherever P of D over H forms the major part of your posterior probability. That is what is being written in this sentence. P D over H is the posterior probability of D given H, the probability of observing data D given some word in which hypothesis H holds. And I think whatever I have written is highlighted red color, the words I have already discussed. If I write PA over B, PX over Y, it indicates that I am trying to find the probability of event X given I know the probability of event Y. If I write PA over B, it indicates I am trying to find the probability of event A given the probability of event B. So next we will look at some of the other forms of your Bayes theorem which will constitute to the hypothesis of a given Bayes classifier. So the same formula I have written. Here I have two more formulas. One is the maximum A posterior hypothesis, which I write it as MAP, maximum A posterior. Apart from this, I have maximum likelihood hypothesis. As I have already told, you need not worry about the derivation of the formulas. You just remember maximum A posteriori hypothesis, MAP, which is equal to the argmax of PH over D. If I generalize PH over D as well as the hypothesis of a probability, the hypothesis of a given probability will become for me the H map. What is maximum likelihood? I said likelihood, the percentage or the chances of a given student becoming the topper. So HML, maximum likelihood, is written as HML, which is equal to argmax of, for every hypothesis belonging to the hypothesis space H. So small h indicates hypothesis, capital H indicates hypothesis space, which is collection of all possible hypotheses with respect to the given probability of the data set if I have observed the hypothesis. And your maximum A posterior hypothesis, that is a H map, will become equal to the maximum likelihood, that is HML will be equal to HMAP if I assume that P of H is a constant. So please remember these formulas. The other forms of Bayes rule I have included in these slides. We'll be solving some problems on this, as I've already mentioned, and I'm repeatedly telling you need not worry about the derivation. This is your Bayes theorem. The other events, when event A is true or event A might not be true, event B is true, and sometimes event B might not be true. This is the formula. You can interchange B over A over B and rewrite the formula. When event B is dependent on one more event, mutually exclusive event, then this is the formula. So these two forms are the different ways of representing your Bayes theorem or the Bayes rule. Now we'll try to solve this problem wherein I have a sample space for two events A and B. Event A is appearing 7 times and event B is appearing 7 times. So fine, I repeat, I have a sample space for two events. There are two events that are occurring A and B. Event A occurs 7 times, event B occurs 7 times. Fine. So event A is occurring 7 times, event B is also occurring 7 times. Now please make a note. In this given two events A and B, with respect to event A, when it is appearing 7 times, the event is true how many times? 4 times. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Event A is true 4 times and false 3 times. Similarly, event B, how many times is it true? 1, 2, 3. So event B is true 3 times, false 4 times. So please make a note of this. We'll try to see how Bayes theorem works exactly here. Fine. So this is the formula. I have written P B over A and P A over B. Both are, as I said, I can interchange my equations here. I have done it trying to find the event occurrences over the other. So that is why I have considered two probabilities, B over A as well as A over B, and I have written the formula as the likelihood P A over B into probability of B divided by probability of A. The same formula P A over B. I have written it here for A over B. For B over A, interchange this formula. Fine. So what is the first thing I am supposed to do? I am supposed to find probability of A as well as probability of B. So with respect to true event, fine, I will be discussing this entire problem with respect to any event occurring and the event is true. How to find the probability of a given event is false? If I subtract 1 minus the probability of P of A, I will get the event probability for false. So we'll just find the probability for given event A as well as event B. Now I said A and B respectively are appearing 7 times. So number of times the event A and B occur is 7. I am talking about finding the probability of P of A when the event is true. So how many times is event A true? 1, 2, 3 and 4. So the probability of A is 4 by 7. How? A is true how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many times is event A occurring? 7 times. So 4 by 7 is the probability for A. Similarly, what is the probability for B? How many times is event B true divided by total number of events? Total number of events is 7. How many times is it true? 1, 2, 3. So the probability for B is 3 by 7. Fine, that is what I have done. 4 by 7 and 3 by 7. Event A is true 1, 2, I have highlighted in different colors, 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 times is it appearing. Out of how many times? 7 times. Similarly for B. I think if we have discussed about accuracy also, right? I gave an example, attendance. How many times you have attended the classes divided by total number of classes engaged by the faculty will give you the probability. The same way, event A is true for 4 times out of 7 times, so 4 by 7. Event B is true 3 times, it is 3 by 7. Now how to find probability of A over B, probability of B over A? I have already given this description. Fine. P A over B or P B over A indicates probability of given event X with respect to event Y. The same principle will apply here in finding the probability of P A over B and finding the probability of P B over A. Fine. How to find B over A and A over B? So we know how to find P of A, we know how to find P of B, so we have done it. So what are the values missing in your Bayes theorem? I am supposed to find probability of A over B, B over A. So how to find probability B over A and A over B, and I have already defined as I showed in the slide once again. It is the probability of finding the value of B provided I know the probability of A. Similarly, the probability of finding A when the probability of event B is known to be. So what is the probability of B when event A is known? So event A is known, that means it is true how many times? 4 times. So whenever A is true, how many times is B true? So A is true for 4 times. When A is true, how many times is B true? We will see here. 1, 2, yes, only 2. So the probability of B over A I define. It is the probability that B is true whenever A is already true. A is already true, B is true once. Again A is true here, B is true once, so twice. So A is true how many times? 1, 2, 3 and 4 times. But B is true whenever already A is already 2 is 4 times. So the probability of B over A is 2 by 4. Similarly, probability of A over B. How many times is B true? It is only thrice. It is thrice. So finding the probability, that means finding the probability that A is true provided B is already true. B is already true in 3 cases. When B is true, how many times is A is true? We will see. Once, twice. So B is true thrice times, 3 times, and whenever B is true, A is also true 2 times. So the probability is 2 by 3. So I'll write the values as PB over as 2 by 4 and PA over B as 2 by 3. I have highlighted here for the B1 because B is true 3 times, 1, 2 and 3 times. Whenever B is true, A is true how many times? Only twice. So I have written it as 2 by 3. If you take the case of PB over A is true 4 times, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So B is true whenever A is already true, A is true, B is true 1 time, A is true, B is true second time. So 2 by 4 is the probability. So if I substitute these values, fine, I'll get 2 by 4, 3 by 4. So I'm just correlating manually as well as from the Bayes theorem how to find probability when two events are dependent on each other. That is your Bayes theorem. I have showed a basic example of how your Bayes theorem works. Now we'll see a bit complex problem on how to apply Bayes theorem. The problem definition is as follows. A doctor knows that a patient is suffering from meningitis which causes stiff neck. That means meningitis is a type of tumor, fine, so which will cause stiff neck. The problem in the neck, will not go into the biological details. So a patient suffering from a particular disease has some attribute. Stiff neck is an attribute. And how many times? 50%. If there are 100 patients, then there are chances that 50% of the patients having meningitis will suffer from stiff neck. That is the first conclusion that I can draw from the given problem definition. Second one, prior probability of any patient having meningitis is 1 by 50,000. So I don't know what is the population size. So among the given population size, there is a probability that there will be one person suffering from meningitis out of 50,000. That is my prior probability. And the prior probability of any patient having only stiff neck, I am not including meningitis here. Person suffering from meningitis as well as stiff neck is 50%, but only the people suffering from stiff neck is 1 by 20. Now what is the question? The question is, if a patient has stiff neck, what is the probability that he or she has meningitis, fine. Now the problem is, I know the disease and the attribute, the feature of it, stiff neck. Now without knowing the attribute or the characteristic, how can I determine the probability that the patients will suffer from a given tumor, the meningitis, fine. So if I apply the Bayes theorem, wherein I use the posterior probability M over S, fine, I am supposed to find the probability given stiff neck is already known to me. Stiff neck is already known to me, 1 by 150,000. So my objective is to find the probability that any given patient, he or she has meningitis. So P M over S. So probability of finding a patient suffering from meningitis given I know the probability of stiff necks is written as using the Bayes theorem, P S over M into P of M divided by P of S. If you know the Bayes rule, you can obviously apply this, fine, simple. Probability of finding meningitis. So probability of finding meningitis, how? I know the prior probability that people suffering from stiff neck already. So probability P M over S, rewrite the Bayes formula. You know the values. What is the probability of P S over M? 50%, right, of people suffering from meningitis. So 50% in the sense 1 by 2, 0.5 into probability of people suffering from meningitis 1 divided by 50,000. I have written it. prior probability divided into, this is prior probability into likelihood divided by evidence. What is the evidence? I have the evidence. 1 by 20 of the people suffer from stiff neck. I replace and I find that the probability is 2 into 10 raised minus 4 or 0.002. So the probability of people irrespective of the population size, if I denote the population size as n, then there is a probability that if a patient has stiff neck, that means I can confirm if just a patient is suffering from stiff neck, then the probability that he will have meningitis or no is 2 into 10 raised minus 4. This is how Bayes theorem works. Fine. We have seen two simple examples. This is a bit simple, the first example. The second one is a bit moderate, and now we'll see a complex example of applying your Bayes theorem. So I repeat, we have solved one simple problem as well as one moderate problem on applying the Bayes theorem or the Bayes rule. Now we'll solve a bit complex problem wherein you'll have a clear understanding of how exactly your Bayes theorem works. So the question is lengthy. I'll read it line by line. I'll explain it sentence by sentence. So you are also supposed to do the same process when a given classification problem is given to you and you are supposed to apply Bayes theorem. So we'll look at the example. To illustrate Bayes rule, consider a medical diagnosis problem in which there are two alternate hypotheses. And I repeat, what is an hypothesis? It's an assumption that is true. And what are the assumptions that I am making? Two alternative. That means if not one, the second one. If not second one, the first one. Fine. What are those hypotheses? The first hypothesis is that the patient has a particular form of cancer. The second one, the patient does not. That means your target function is taking two values. Fine. What are those two values? Target function 1 is the patient suffering from cancer, or you can denote it as yes, suffering from cancer, yes. The second one, the patient does not. That means patient does not suffer from cancer, negative or no. So for your better understanding, we'll denote the patient suffering from cancer as yes, patient not suffering from cancer as no. So these are the two alternative hypotheses. So that is what I have generalized here. The available data is from a particular laboratory test with two possible outcomes, positive or negative. So you might have known these terms in terms of medical language. Fine. Positive or negative is gram positive or gram negative. When a biological test is done, you either get positive result or negative result, the gram positive. So if it is positive, the patient is suffering from cancer. If the lab report says negative, the patient is not suffering from cancer. This is the general description of the given medical diagnosis problem. Now comes the data that I am supposed to derive from this problem definition. So the problem is saying we have prior knowledge that over the entire population only 0.08 have this disease. So have this disease in the sense, what is the disease? Cancer. So what is the prior knowledge saying? Irrespective of the population size over the entire population. What is the population size? 5,000, 10,000, lakhs, 10 lakhs? I'm not sure. In general, I am saying out of the given population, there are only 0.008 persons or people having this disease. So the probability, you can write P of C is 0.008. Please take a paper and keep on solving this. I can't solve it mathematically here. I will just show you the slides. I'm now giving the description. So the prior knowledge that over the entire population of people only 0.008 have this disease. That means I can write P of C as, so I've just given a try here by using the notations available. So I write P of C, all those people irrespective of the population size suffering from cancer is 0.008. So similarly, furthermore, the lab test is only an imperfect indicator of this disease. So if the lab report is saying that the person is prone to cancer, is not prone to cancer, it is just a imperfect indicator, not the perfect one. I can't be 100% sure that if the report has come, it is correct. So what are the test results? What are the test results here? That is what the description is given. The test returns a correct positive result in only 98% of the cases. So please read the sentence once again. the test returns a correct positive result in only 98% of the cases in which the disease is actually present. That means the probability that the people are suffering from cancer, I can write P plus or S, fine, because the results are positive and negative. I can write the probability P plus over cancer as 98% in the sense 0.98. What is the probability that the people will not have cancer is 1 minus 98% or 1 minus 0.98, that is 0.02. So the probability of people having cancer is 0.98, not having cancer, prior probability of not having cancer is 1 minus 0.98, that is 0.02. The second sentence is a correct negative result. Understand this, the difference between correct positive, correct negative. If you can recollect the first class, the very first class of your classification, we discussed about the confusion matrix. The confusion matrix spoke about true positive, true negative, false negative, false positive. That is what is given here. True negative is nothing but correct positive. Fine. Correct positive result. That means if the reports are positive, then out of those 100 results, 98% will have positive instances, 2% will have negative instance. And a correct negative result is only 97% of the cases in which the disease is not present. So the vice versa of it. If I take 100 cases, 97 times it comes that the patient is not suffering from cancer. 3% chances are there the patient is suffering from cancer in correct negative result. The vice versa, correct positive, 98% will suffer from cancer, 2% will not suffer from cancer. So I can write this correct positive result with respect to positive cases 98 as P of plus over cancer or S over cancer as 0.98, and the positive cases in the correct negative result P plus over the person not having cancer is 0.97, 97%. 1 minus 97 is 0.03, which is equal to people having the correct positive result but correctly classified as not having cancer. So please remember this. I repeat once again, probably you're getting confused. Correct positive in the sense, if I take the lab test reports, before classification there were 100 people. After classification, if I take the lab test results, I can say confirmly that 98% of the people are suffering from cancer. 2% chances I can't say whether he is suffering from cancer or not. The reverse way, correct negative, 97% of the people do not possess this disease. 3% chances that they might possess cancer. That is why I write P plus over not possessing cancer is 0.03%. So suppose we now observe a patient from whom the lab test returns a positive result. Should we diagnose the patient as having cancer or not? So the same thing I have written it in terms of points. Now we'll see the notations and what is the data that I have drawn from the given problem description. As I said, irrespective of the population size, the number of people suffering from cancer is 0.08. Fine, 0.08. Where is the sentence? Here. Prior knowledge over the entire population of people having only 0.98. 98% correct positive, 97% correct negative. That is what I have written. Correct positive result 98%. That means the classification results are correct. That is why I am taking positive, and is suffering from cancer is 0.98. Negative classification, that is suffering from cancer, is 1 minus 0.98, that is 0.02. The correct negative classification is 97%. Negative classification, correct negative classification in the sense is not suffering from cancer, negative is 97%, 0.97. The correct negative classification for cancer is 1 minus 0.97, 0.03. If I apply my Bayes theorem, what is Bayes theorem? Posterior probability is equal to likelihood into prior probability divided by evidence. I repeat, your posterior probability is equal to likelihood into prior knowledge divided by evidence. and unfortunately I don't have evidence. What is evidence? The population size. I just have the prior knowledge that over the entire population of people, only 0.008 have this disease. What is the population size? Whether there are 50, 100, 1000, lakhs, 10 lakhs, the population size is not known. Sorry, I repeat, the population size is not known. I just know among the given population, if the population is n, the percentage of people having cancer is 0.08. So that is why I don't have evidence with respect to your mathematical formula for posterior probability, likelihood into prior probability divided by evidence. Evidence is not available, so I multiply likelihood and prior probability. So your posterior probability is nothing but the product between the prior probability and class conditional probabilities or the likelihood. So that is what I have written here. We have seen the forms of your Bayes theorem, the maximum posterior as well as your maximum likelihood. HMAP is equal to HML. So I'll apply the same formulas here. Maximum posterior probability is the product of prior probability and your class conditional probability or likelihood. What is the prior probability? Prior probability is 0.08% of the people have cancer, 0.08. What is the class conditional probability or the likelihood? Likelihood is 98% of the people will have cancer. So if I multiply 0.08 into 0.98, I'll get 0.0078. Similarly, if I multiply the prior probability and class conditional probabilities or the likelihood for negative classification, correct negative classification. So percentage of people not having cancer is 1 minus 0.008. I have 0.992. That is the class conditional probability or likelihood. What is the prior probability with respect to correct negative classification? It is 97% or 0.97. If I multiply, I'll get 0.0298. Fine. So I have applied maximum A posterior hypothesis, and I found that the probability for a given population of being prone to cancer is 0.078 and not being prone to cancer is 0.0298. So how to find the target function of a new instance if a new patient comes for a given report, whether I can say is prone to cancer or not prone to cancer based on the posterior probability values of positive classification as well as negative classification. Now keenly observe the values. For positive classification, you have the posterior probabilities. Please remember, these two values are posterior probabilities. You have got the posterior probability by multiplying the class conditional probabilities or the likelihood with prior probability. Class conditional probability or the likelihood with prior probability for negative classification, and you have got the values as 0.078 and 0.0298. If you compare these two probability values, which is having highest value? Obviously 0.0298 decimal form. Fine, 2 decimals, 1 decimal. So 0.0298 is greater than 0.078. So I can conclude that for a given new instance or a new test example or the testing instance, the patient will not be prone to cancer, and hence I write the maximum A post priori hypothesis probability that a new patient will have cancer or not. I can say he will definitely not have cancer. That is why I have written the negation symbol of cancer. Why? Because the posterior probability of a person not having cancer is greater than the posterior probability of a person having cancer. So I compare the two values. I'll take this as A, I'll take this as B. The value of B is greater than A, hence I'll classify it as a person not having cancer. I hope you have understood this fine. So find the maximum A posterior hypothesis, the posterior probability, by multiplying likelihood or the class conditional probability with evidence. You will get some value A and B. Compare A and B. Whichever is having highest value, that will be the class label for the new instance. So the probability that a person will not have cancer is 0.0298. A probability that a person will have cancer is 0.078. Obviously the probability of a person not having cancer is greater than the probability of a person having cancer. So the class level for new instance will be declared as the person is not suffering from cancer. This is the conclusion by applying Bayes theorem for the given problem description. So these posterior probabilities can again be applied by normalizing the values. How to normalize? We have seen the forms of your Bayes theorem. Positive probability divided by positive plus negative probability for positive classification. For negative correct classification, negative probability divided by positive probability plus negative probability. I'll get 0.21, 0.79. This is how Bayes theorem works. So in the next class, we'll be discussing about the classification model which makes use of your Bayes theorem, that is your Navy Bayes classifier. We'll be solving some problems. So hope in this class you know what is Bayesian classifier, why we go for Bayesian classifier, the two relevant features. One is I'll be able to explicitly manipulate the probabilities. In the second case, where there is no option or a choice of explicitly manipulating the prior probabilities, then I'll make use of Bayesian classifier. And your Bayesian classifier works on the Bayes theorem, which is the foundation. And how exactly Bayes theorem works, we have seen the formula of Bayes theorem, the basic notations in it, the prior probabilities, posterior probabilities, probability of a given data set, probability of a given hypothesis, and how we have formulated the Bayes theorem. Again I repeat, need not worry about the derivation. We have solved 3 problems. Fine. The slightly easier problem, then we have solved a moderately difficult problem, and then probably we have solved a extremely difficult problem. This is not difficult, fine. If you practice such problems frequently, you can exactly come to know the working principle of Bayes theorem. So I conclude this video session here, and in the next class we'll be discussing about your Navy Bayes classifier. Thank you.